Here is the most important chapter about investing. Chapter 8, The Investor and Market Fluctuation, from Intelligent Investor. What is Mr. Market? Mr. Market as maniac depressive, randomly swinging from optimism to the moods of pessimism. Mr. Market creates ups and downs in stock prices all the time, and prudent fundamental investors are unfazed by them since they are looking at the larger long-term picture. Market is there to serve you, not to guide you. If you are a wise investor, will you let Mr. Market daily communication determine your view of the value of a $1,000 interest in the enterprise? Only in case you agree with him, or in case you want to trade with him. You may be happy to sell out to him when he quotes you a ridiculously high price, and equally happy to buy from him when his price is low. But the rest of the time, you will be wiser to form your own ideas of the value of your holding based on full reports from the company. Buy wisely when prices fall sharply, and to sell wisely when they advance a great deal. Never buy a stock immediately after a substantial rise, or sell one immediately after a substantial drop. Since common stocks are subject to recurrent and wide fluctuations in their prices, the intelligent investor should be interested in the possibilities of profiting from these pendulum swings. Timing is of great psychological importance to the speculator because he wants to make his profits in a hurry. A serious investor is not likely to believe that the day-to-day or even month-to-month fluctuations of the stock market make him richer or poorer. The happiness of those who want to be popular depends on others. The happiness of those who seek pleasures fluctuates with mood outside their control, but the happiness of the wise grows out of their own free acts. Marcus Aurelius. Why then do investors find Mr. Market so seductive? It turns out that our brains are hardwired to get us into investing troubles. Humans are pattern-seeking animals. In the late 1990s, many people came to feel that they were in the dark unless they checked the prices of their stock several times a day. But as Graham puts, the typical investor would be better off if his stocks had no market quotation at all, for he would then be spared the mental anguish caused him by other person's mistakes of judgment. Graham teaches that you should buy when Mr. Market is yelling sell. If you want to speculate, do so with your eyes open, knowing that you will probably lose money in the end. Be sure to limit the amount at risk and to separate it completely from your investment program. Spinoza's concluding remark applies to Wall Street as well as to philosophy. All things excellent are as difficult as they are rare. Often, Mr. Market lets his enthusiasm or his fears run away with him, and the value he proposes seems to you a little short of silly. Good managements produce a good average market price, and bad management produce bad market prices. Here is an example of Inktomi's stock. Mr. Market was overlooking something about its business. The company was losing money, lots of it. It had lost 6 million in the most recent quarter, 24 million in the 12 months before that, and 24 million in the years before that. In its entire corporate lifetime, Inktomi had never made a dime in profit. Yet on March 17, 2000, Mr. Market valued this tiny business at a total of 25 billion. And then Mr. Market went into a sudden depression on September 30, 2002, just 2.5 years after hitting $231 per share. Inktomi stock closed at 25 cents, collapsing from a total market value of 25 billion to less than 40 million. Psychologists have shown that the pain of financial loss is more than twice as intense as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. Groundbreaking new research in neuroscience shows that our brains are designed to perceive trends even when they might not exist. Mr. Market's job is to provide you with prices. Your job is to decide whether it is you to take advantage, to act on them. You don't have to trade with him just because he constantly begs to you. Those of us with a long experience on Wall Street had seen Newton's law of action and reaction, equal and opposite, work itself out repeatedly in the stock market. The most noteworthy example being the rise in the DJIA from 64 in 1921 to 381 in 1929, followed by a record collapse to 41 in 1932. If investor wants to be shrewd, he can look for the ever-present bargain opportunities in individual securities. The investor with a portfolio of sound stocks should expect their prices to fluctuate and should neither be concerned by sizable decline nor become excited by sizable advances. He should always remember that market quotations are there for his convenience, either to be taken advantage of or to be ignored. The investor's primary interest lies in acquiring and holding suitable securities at suitable prices. Market movements are important to him in practical sense because they alternately create low price levels at which he would be wise to buy and high prices level at which he certainly should refrain from buying and probably would be wise to sell. In 1938, the business was really being given away with no takers. In 1961, the public was clamoring for the shares at a ridiculously high price. There are two chief morals to this story. The first is that the stock market often goes far wrong, and sometimes an alert and courageous investor can take advantage of its patent error. The other is that most business change in character and quality over the years, sometimes for the better, perhaps more often for the worse. The development of the stock market in recent decades has made the typical investor more dependent on the course of price quotations and less free than formerly to consider himself merely a business owner. If he is the right kind of investor, he will take added satisfaction from the thought that his operations are exactly opposite from those of the crowd.